Hello there, and thank you for tuning in. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, welcome, welcome. I am Dr. Caroline Cristo, a licensed marriage and family therapist in Southern California. I'm also an aspiring author and a speaker. Today, I would like to share with you about COVID and the impact it has had on us and what it is that we need to do, some of the coping tools and skills that we need to be able to go through it, Pierce 2021 and beyond. So the skills and tools that I'll be sharing with you today, you're going to need them past COVID and beyond. That's the beauty of some of these skills that we learn or that I'll be sharing with you. They don't just apply to one situation. Life has a pattern, and most of the time we need to cope in similar ways. So today my topic is about the impact of the pandemic and other crises, such crises, and how to cope with them. I want to talk about the impact these types of situation crises have on individuals, families, couples, and children, and how to cope with such difficult times. The first thing that I would like to talk about is the impact and where we've been impacted, or so to speak, where we have been mostly hit. So number one, mental health. Our mental health was significantly or is significantly still being impacted, and we're seeing a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, a lot of strain and stress around this. Some of us became parents overnight, homeschooling, juggling the full-time job, juggling family. So mental health wise, that caused a lot of stress. Our economy got impacted. Some of us lost our jobs, sadly. There was some organized crime in some areas, and also our environment got impacted. We've had more homeless people. It almost seems as though there was more debris flying around in certain areas. So our environment just became a little difficult and toxic for some areas. We also noticed the tension that people had. I mean, I would go to the store and I would sense tension, and it's something that you would experience all around. Our education, our children's education, became impacted as a result of parents becoming teachers overnight. Sadly, our university students also experienced the challenge of having to do everything from the computer. Our sight also will probably at the end be impacted for so much screen time. Our agriculture, we noticed shortages in foods, my goodness, all around, almost everything, businesses, travel, everything came to some type of a stand. Maybe not still, but a lot of things did come to a standstill. So those are some of the areas that became impacted. So there was a recent study that was done by Dr. Betty Pfefferbaum, and it revealed that a lot of individuals, medical doctors, got severely impacted. And the recent study revealed numerous strains and stresses, and an increase in stress, depression, irritability, insomnia, fear, confusion, anger, frustration, boredom. So I'm sure that most of us saw people go through this. Suddenly, our husbands were irritable, our children were isolating, we were feeling anger, fear, frustration, we were losing sleep. So, those are some of the areas that also sadly exacerbate any mental health condition that we may have. Therefore, also that some areas of communication got impacted due to having so much going on. We probably did not have that much time to communicate effectively. How can you homeschool? How can you, if you're going to school yourself, run a household, have a job? So we probably became poor communicators in this process. So that's another area that got impacted. Our expectations, we had to lower them, and but also our responsibilities increased. The time spent increased or decreased depending on whether you were homeschooling or whether you were having to go into work and have the kids at home, whatever the case may have been, our work environment got affected. So this is where I come in and make some suggestions. I'm not giving you advice, but I'm making suggestions. So when it comes to some of these areas that were impacted, such as communication, I encourage us to start communicating more, to start spending more time talking about the impacts of COVID on our children, on us, on couples, on our workplace, those of us who are still working, the tension that you feel. I encourage you to either talk to somebody you trust, a coworker, or have discussions with your loved ones on the area of communication and how it's been impacted. The next area that we need to monitor and observe is our expectations. Parents, this is probably not the time to demand those A's. There's a lot going on for our children. I have never seen such a high level of anxiety and depression in our teen children, but also in our younger one, our school age children. So this is a time where if you are that parent who always expects A's, this is where you may say, hey, a B, B plus is okay because of the stress and strain that's going on. Think of it as when you break your leg and the doctor says, don't put too much pressure on it. Yeah, our system kind of broke a little bit. Our daily patterns and routines broke. So it's not time to put more pressure on ourselves or on our kids. The next thing is our responsibilities were modified and changed. So if you're that person that is an overachiever, this is not the time to want to do everything perfectly because you have added responsibilities. I urge you to slow down a little bit, to lower your expectations, get things done, but not necessarily continue with that high standard when everything is functioning normally. Things are not functioning normally right now. And they won't probably for a long time. Time spent, I suggest we spend more time with our loved ones, more time with ourselves. Self-care, ladies. I have a lot of ladies that tell me they feel guilty when they go spend time for themselves. Don't feel guilty because you taking care of yourself means you come back recharged, rejuvenated to give more to your family, to your kids, and other responsibilities that you have to. So don't feel guilty when you take that time. Homeschooling, let's do the best that we can. Our teachers, fortunately in our area, very, very understanding and very supportive. So homeschool as best as you can and try to support your children because this is hard for them. They more than likely don't want you to be their teacher. And so work with them as best as you can and be patient above all. Work also, if you're still working, I urge that you do the best that you can. If you're a supervisor, please understand that there's so much going on. Let's not have that too high of an expectation. Just an understanding from everyone is what I am suggesting and requesting. Here are some 5 tips that will be helpful. And these I am sharing, I didn't reinvent the wheel, from Loma Linda University's Living Well, Your Guide to Health and Lifestyle, Summer 2020. They suggested these 5 tips for coping with COVID and other pandemic-like or crisis-like situations. Follow CDC guidelines. I know some of you say, well, those guidelines don't make sense. Just like anything, not everything will make sense to you all the time. But I would suggest that you err on caution. I would suggest that you wear that mask, even though you don't believe that there's COVID going on. I know that there's so many theories going on. I choose to err on caution, so I will wear that mask. I will sanitize each time. I will do what I need to do to just err on caution, whether I believe it or not. Err on caution, follow CDC guidelines. Also create distractions. Do things that you've not done before, such as read a book, watch a movie when you have that time, go for a walk in the neighborhood with your mask. Or if it's in an open area and there's nobody around, then you may afford yourself not to wear that mask. But do what you feel is right and what will help you just err on caution. The next thing, so follow CDC guidelines and any other guidelines that are meant to protect us. Also, create distractions for yourself and for your children. Do things that you've not done before so that we're not so focused on this crisis, this pandemic. Let's do different things that will cause us to remember that, hey, there was a pandemic, but guess what? We learned how to play board games. We learned how to spend time with one another. The next thing I suggest is monitor your stress level. Monitor it so that sometimes you can just take deep breaths instead of complaining. Maybe you can just go for a walk instead of dwelling or watching the news. Monitor your stress level and what it is like so that you can cope with it and deal with it accordingly. My next suggestion is to ask for help. If you feel down and depressed, down and out, feeling as though you're going to lose it, I do suggest that you call and receive help. It's a strength to look for help. It's a strength to get help, not a weakness. Don't suffer alone, whereas there are some professionals out there who would be more than willing to support you, to talk you through your situation, to provide you with coping skills. Find YouTubers like myself who are willing to provide these tips to you and to others. Therefore, if you learned something from this today, share it with somebody, talk to somebody about it, support somebody. Turn on your notification button so you can receive the next one. Subscribe also. I really appreciate you stopping by. I hope you learned something. Cope well, hang in there, we'll get through it. See you at the top, see you on the other side. Let's make 2020 one of the best years, as best as we can. Have a good one, and thank you for stopping by. Take care. Goodbye.